Well, we are going to go ahead and get started in an effort to respect all of your time. So thank you for being here. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Jessica Miranda, and I'm proud to serve as the auditor of this fine Hamilton County. It's truly an honor to host today's Auditor Advocacy event, and we are today addressing, of course, the property tax crisis here in Ohio. This is the first bipartisan advocacy event of its kind here in our county that we've held in quite some time, maybe ever, we don't know, we couldn't really go back that far. And I believe it couldn't be happening at a more critical moment for Ohio's taxpayers. We are gathered in this room today not as Democrats or Republicans, but as public servants committed to finding meaningful, long-term solutions to Ohio's growing property tax crisis. I'm proud to be joined by two dedicated colleagues of mine, Auditor Karl of Montgomery County and Auditor Nolan of Warren County, who, like me, are deeply invested in ensuring fairness and equity in our property tax system. Together, we've been working in partnership with the County Auditors Association of Ohio to elevate common sense legislative solutions that serve all Ohioans, no matter their zip code. We are also fortunate to have a dynamic group of presenters. First. There we go. So as you can see on the screen, not only do I have my esteemed colleagues with me, but we have four organizations that are going to co-present with us today. We are lucky to have the Council on Aging here with us, the United Way of Greater Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Association, and of course, we are in the home of the Sycamore Community School District. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being a part of this movement to ensure a fairer, more transparent property tax system for everyone here in our state. Today's presentation will consist of the following points. And at the end of this presentation, we will have many, many resources for you to take back to your respective organization or your respective municipality to take action to encourage our state lawmakers to address this crisis head on and to advise them to do something to grant relief now to those who need it most. So to get started on our presentation, I'm going to turn it over to someone who has spent hours and hours and hours walking up and down the hallways of our state house advocating for solutions to this crisis. So, Auditor Karl of Montgomery County.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here and the opportunities to participate in today's forum. I don't know that I spent that much time in the halls of the State House. Matt, you've probably spent more time than I have in the State House. I don't know that they welcome me quite as much as they would some of the rest of us. But I'm from Montgomery County, and I've been the auditor in Montgomery County since 2000. I was the chief deputy auditor for 9 years before that. So 40 some years in local government. I was working in the county treasurer's office before that. So, you know, I feel like I've been doing property tax stuff for half of my life anyway, more than half of my life. And so I had a lot of experience and gone through a lot of trials and tribulations with it. Of course, you know, I was there during the crisis of 2008 when we saw property values fall off the charts, and we lost billions of dollars of value in my county, and we saw people's taxes go down and what that did to services. And now, of course, then we lived through the pandemic, and then since then we've just seen property taxes go off what we call off the charts. So I'm going to, let's see, where am I at? I'm going to kind of set the stage for what we're all about here and what are the proposals that county auditors have. We're in the front lines of this. You know, we deal with this every day. This is what we do. We hear the complaints. We also see the services that are being provided. And so we're caught in the middle sometimes in all of what we do. But because of that, we have a lot of experience, and we have a lot of knowledge, and we can bring that expertise to the table which is what we have tried to do as an organization. 88 county auditors, 88 counties, we all have, some large counties, small counties, rural, urban, different political parties. And so we felt like that we had a lot of ideas that we could all reach a common ground on things. And we wouldn't agree on everything. We wouldn't agree on everything, but what we have done is come up with some proposals that we felt like we could all agree to, and it would be made common. It would make a lot of sense, and it would make a big difference. So we do have 4 proposals that we have come up with, that we're going to talk about those in great detail. 4 proposals: expanding the homestead exemption program, eliminate the non-business credit and expand the owner occupancy credit, limit the growth in revenue received from school districts due to property valuations or increased valuations, and then create a menu of targeted relief for people who for low and moderate income homeowners, so they can assist them and keep stay in their homes, which is what we're wanting overall, wanting to make sure people stay in their homes and not the taxes force them to leave their home. This didn't happen overnight, but what we're dealing with didn't happen overnight. Instead, I've seen the highs and lows of property values, but I also have seen the sales of the real estate market is just off the charts. And I ran out of words to describe it, from hot to robust to off the charts to on fire. I've run out of words to describe it. And it just keeps on going. Just as you think that, well, between inflation and high interest rates, it's going to slow it down. It doesn't slow it down. It hasn't slowed it down. And so even tariffs hasn't slowed it down. I mean, it keeps going and going and going. And so with those higher sales prices, it's caused property values to go up. This slide notes 67% property values across the country have increased 67% in the last 5 years. So it's not a Cincinnati thing, it's not a Dayton thing, it's not a Warren County thing, it's not an Ohio thing, it's a United States thing. It's a worldwide thing. I mean, the real estate market is off the charts, and because of that, it's forcing property values to go up. So we've seen these property values go up. It's caused attention to issues that have always been there. They've always been there. But now it's caused us to have to deal with these issues head on, in our face. So we started seeing the results of this really back in 2020, when we did a rebound back in 2020. And of course, all of the counties do these things on different cycles. We all were required to do updates, but we're not all on the same cycle. I think Montgomery and Hamilton, I think, is on the same cycle. Warren is on a different cycle from us in the middle there. So that way he can blame us for this issue. We can blame him for ours, right? So in 2020, as you see here, Montgomery County, we were 15%. 3 years before that, we were up 7%. So it doubled in just 3 years' time. And everybody across the state, everybody in our region was up double digits. Franklin was up 20%, 22%. Everybody's up double digits. And we hadn't seen that before, not since I've been a county auditor. We hadn't seen that before, but then it just didn't go away like that. Yeah. So now in 23, we went up 27%. 24, we went up 32%. Statewide average 32%. Our values went up 34% in Montgomery County. Matt just did a rebound this past year, right? You're up 27%. 27%. So just again, like I said, it just keeps going. Hamilton's up 28%. So it just keeps on going. It really has become an issue that has forced us to have to deal with the tax consequences of that. So a lot of property tax relief, a lot of talk about property tax relief, a lot of legislation introduced in our legislature about tax relief. One of the things the legislature did was create this committee on property tax review and reform. And they took the year 24, right? All of 2024 was an opportunity to review this issue in detail. So the county auditors testified to that committee, and Matt testified. A number of other organizations and groups testified for that committee. They spent a year studying it. They came to the end of the year, and they let the law require us to issue a report by the end of 2024. And so when they issued the report in 2024, they really decided to do nothing. They really had no recommendations. They listed a lot of ideas. Many of the ideas were ideas that we had given them, but they really didn't recommend anything. And so that's what gets us here today. Auditors, again, we've had some ideas, we've got some proposals that I think needs to be considered. A lot of times they want us to focus on values and what's happening to property values. And I think this is something that we all would agree to. Democrat, Republican, big county, small county, we've all come to the agreement that we really don't have a valuation problem in Ohio. It's not about how we value things. We have a tax problem in Ohio, and that's what needs to be addressed. And that's what we want the legislature to address. This is an editorial I wrote a couple of years ago, and we made that point that it's not a valuation problem that we're dealing with; it's a tax problem. And so that gets us to 4 proposals that we can put on the table that we think will provide relief almost instantaneously for a large number of people. They won't require constitutional amendments. They won't require years to develop. This is something that the legislature can do instantly and can provide relief almost instantly to a large number of people. It's simple, it's common sense, and that's what we want. We want to see something people are demanding, relief now. They don't want to wait. They've already waited. They don't want to wait. They don't want to continue to wait. So these proposals that we have that we're going to talk about today are things that we've come up with that we think will provide some immediate relief. I think you're next. There you go. All right. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move through all 4 of these solutions that the County Auditors Association will have us put before the state legislature one by one. So for the first point, we're going to talk about expanding the homestead exemption. I'd like to invite Suzanne Burke, the CEO of Councilwoman.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to talk about these important issues for our older adults in our community. So first, I just want to share our mission is to help older adults and individuals remain independent at home. So that's key to this issue. We provide services to more than 13,000 older adults in Hamilton County. And those are individuals who are on our programs, meaning they are typically homebound or maybe even nursing home level of care who want to stay in their home rather than be in a nursing facility. Obviously, these individuals are impacted by rising taxes and increased cost of home ownership, including property taxes. Many of the individuals we serve have lived in their home for decades. They contribute to the fabric of our community and make it better places for us all to live. And they want to stay in their communities for as long as they possibly can. And we're here to support that. Most live on fixed incomes, have pretty significant out-of-pocket medical expenses, are still often making a monthly mortgage or rent payment, and have less savings available to them to deal with the increased cost. I want to share a couple of numbers just about the demographics and then some of the economics. So in Hamilton County, in general population, over 140,000 individuals were 65 plus. 31.6 had a disability. 18.5% live at or near 100% of the federal poverty. Over 69% live in owner-occupied housing. Almost 27% spend 30% of their monthly income on housing-related costs, and the median monthly homeowner cost with a mortgage is a little over $1,400. On our program, we serve in Hamilton County through the Senior Services Tax Levy over 8,300 older adults. And again, these are homebound individuals who either are what we like to describe one financial crisis or one healthcare crisis away from qualifying for Medicaid. 1,200 of these individuals receive assistance with utility bills or home repairs. Home repairs and home modifications in particular, they have difficulty with all the rising costs of maintaining homes. 60% of those we serve live alone, so have no other support in the home. And on average, they have approaching $300 a month in out-of-pocket medical expenses. And then their average monthly income is $1,900 a month. So not a lot of resources to spare for that group. So we've got all the trends happening, and two, Ohio is an aging state, and the older adult population is growing. What if the auditor referenced property values are increasing, often increasing the amount of taxes owed? Yet at the same time, many older adults, and particularly those that we serve, are just relying simply on Social Security as their primary source of income, and those have not, Social Security wages and increases have not kept pace with housing or cost of living increases. So this is contributing to significant financial strain for older adults. This is not a new issue. Part of the services we offer help bring home care assistance into the home that would otherwise, if not received, drive people to a nursing home when that's not where they want to be. And frankly, as a taxpayer, that's not where we want them to be either. Not new, it's not going away. We hear from many individuals every day who are struggling with housing-related costs, yet we have very limited resources to help them. Probably not being addressed today, but hopefully everyone is aware there is a shortage of affordable housing in our community, particularly for seniors. And many need assistance with, as I mentioned, paying utility bills or making repairs to their homes to keep them safe. So we are regularly invited at CAAO to participate in groups to address and talk about this issue. Most recently, the city of Cincinnati had a property tax task force. We've gone to numerous town halls. We've been of late trying to help individuals focus on making sure that if they're eligible for any programs such as the homestead exemption, that they are enrolled and that they are accessing this. So what we've heard is that many homeowners are legacy homeowners. They've been in their homes 30, 40, 50 years, and they want to stay there. And so as part of our kind of recent discussions on this matter, we've been really going into those enrolled on our program to make sure that they have enrolled in the homestead exemption benefit. We actually found 775 individuals who had not, that we were able to assist them and get them enrolled. So, as you know, for older adults who are on fixed income, property taxes increasing impacts their ability to pay for other things, to include rising medical costs, food, and other things associated with, trying to live at home. And our primary focus is one of advocacy, and that is people should have a choice in where and how they age, and no one should have to move to a nursing home simply because they can't afford to pay their property taxes. So it's important for us to help identify opportunities to help and protect older homeowners so they continue to be a part of our communities. The homestead exemption can help reduce out-of-pocket expenses. That frees up money for medications, groceries, and other things. So making the homestead exemption available to more older adults and aligning the program with current home valuations, from our perspective, is a step in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Round of applause again for Suzanne Bird. So the homestead exemption, for those of you who have heard me talk about this before, you will probably know that I say this at often. Enhancing and fixing the homestead exemption is literally the easiest most simple thing the state legislature could do to provide instantaneous relief for those who need it most, which are our elderly folks who live on a fixed income. So the next couple slides are going to kind of explain to you how we got here. And our office has put forth a very, very strong effort to get out in the community, like what CAAO is doing, like what other organizations that we present today are doing, and making sure that everyone that qualifies for this program, though it may be much smaller than it used to be 10 years ago, they are not only enrolled, but getting it, and you can see that reflected on the property summary on the website. So, homestead exemption, what is it to qualify? The homestead exemption is, of course, a program in the state of Ohio, and it provides a reduction in property taxes for those who qualify. It is everyone who is at least 65 years of age and older, and or currently disabled as of January 1, and you have to own and occupy primary residence. And your 2022 adjusted income has to be less than $38,600. Late filers for tax year 2023 will be eligible for the year only if their income for 2022 is less than $36,100. So we've seen a bump in this, but we have a far way and a long way to go. In 1970, Ohio voters approved the creation of this homestead exemption. In 2007, then Governor Strickland removed the income requirements, making this program much more available to everyone 65 and older. There was no income requirements at that time. So basically, if you were 65 or older, you got the homestead exemption. In 2014, then Governor Kasich reinstated the income restrictions, and that greatly limited the program's reach. And today, those Kasich era income restrictions are still in effect. So what does this mean for Hamilton County? This graph is pretty startling, but you can see clearly that as home values have risen, the homestead exemption's effect has not. It has not been indexed for inflation, and therefore is having almost zero effect on the folks in our community that need it the most. So, the needed reform. The CAAO, of course, supports increasing both the exemption amount for the homestead and the income threshold, or in my humble opinion, getting rid of the income threshold, period. Here in Hamilton County, the number of homestead applications has fallen by over 68% in 10 years. I'm going to say that again because, again, we have a wonderful illustration here to show you, but 68% of people who once qualified for and received the homestead exemption are no longer qualifying for or receiving that tax deduction. So down there on the numbers, a little over 4,000 applications we had here in 2013. Year in 2023, we have a little over 1,200 applications that were received and approved. So before I bring up Larry Williams with the Cincinnati Association, I just want to say one more thing. I want to reiterate that the homestead exemption is a problem. It no longer meets its intended purpose, and therefore has become somewhat embarrassing for us county auditors to offer this to people of our counties. This issue should, of course, remain on our radar, and it should be the top of what we need the state legislators to tackle and fix for the people of our community. So at this time, I'll bring up our next presenter, which is Larry Williams with the Cincinnati Association. We'll go ahead and go to your first slide there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is, as Jessica said, Larry Williams. I've been in the Cincinnati Association since 2014. For those not familiar with the Cincinnati Association, the organization was formed in 1920. One of our goals is to develop an understanding of critical issues facing our community and to address those issues through engaging with community leaders and nonpartisan shaping of public policy. Since 2017, Cincinnati's exclusion panel and addressing housing affordability in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a member of the Housing and Future Collaborative of Cincinnati. The importance of housing affordability and homeownership for low-income families, especially Black families, and the challenges they face has been a particular focus for the Inclusion Panel. Some of the financial benefits of homeownership for low-income households are increased household financial stability, with monthly mortgage payments being more stable than rental payments. Homeownership eliminates the need to have your lease renewed. Homeownership provides tax benefits through mortgage interest reductions and other programs like energy tax credits. And homeownership plays a very important role in the opportunity to build wealth through homeownership. First-time home buyers in Cincinnati have faced increasing challenges with a decrease in housing stock for sale, rising interest rates, rising housing production, and recent rapid increase in property taxes. Existing homeowners in Cincinnati's low-income neighborhoods are experiencing property tax increases far above the county-wide averages, which has contributed to tax delinquencies and increased risk of foreclosure for these households. Seniors also face housing cost challenges as expressed in the council relation presentation. Seniors strongly prefer to remain in their homes and aging place. Increasing property taxes dramatically impact their ability to do so with fixed income. Inability to stay in their homes disrupts passing on generational wealth in homes. These financial challenges have contributed to 19% of Hamilton County homeowners and 22% of homeowners in the city of Cincinnati being prospering, meaning that they spend more than 30% of their household income. Reductions in property taxes by making meaningful adjustments to both the non-business credit and the owner occupancy credit have won several immediate benefits. It will give relief to existing low-income homeowners and senior homeowners, increasing their ability to stay in their homes. It will reduce the number of households that are prospering, creating more financially stable households. It will also reduce financial barriers for low-income first-time home buyers, creating more opportunities to achieve the benefits of homeownership, including generational wealth creation. In closing, I would like to thank the County Auditors Association of Ohio and its members for organizing today's event, and for the continuing efforts to find meaningful solutions to the issue of rising property taxes that so many of us, myself included, Ohio are facing.
Matt Nolan, Warren County Auditor, President of the County Auditor Association of Ohio. I appreciate everyone being here. The invite from Jessica and Karl to be a part of this. We've been doing this all around the state, and every meeting's been different. I like talking about homestead because that's the easy one. And just because these other ones aren't easy doesn't mean they're not important. And Larry's points were exactly right. There are two tax credits that every homeowner in Ohio gets: 10% credit and a 2.5% credit. The non-business credit, we'll discuss the irony of that name, and the owner-occupied credit. Those numbers are no longer 12.5% since Governor Kasich reduced that made it that no levies passed after 2013 get those credits. So very few people are receiving the full 12.5% benefit. We believe that at the very least we should go back to all of that, but that these numbers should increase from where they are to help reduce taxes on everyone. This is the only proposal that we have that actually will reduce taxes for every Ohioan, every owner-occupied home in Ohio, and it can be done tomorrow, and will provide immediate relief. So if you hear there's no ways to provide immediate relief, there are, and this is it. But to Larry's point, there are multiple reasons we do tax credits. They're used as tools, they benefit people, and they're supposed to promote activities that we want. Home ownership being a huge one. And the tax credit formulation that we've set up in Ohio fails to do that. It actually encourages the opposite. It encourages businesses, specifically non-Ohio businesses, from purchasing homes and then turning them into rentals which prevents people from being able to own their own homes and all the positives that come along with ownership. And it's also caused the Ohio housing market to increase higher than others around because we're promoting foreign companies from California. American Homes for Rent is the one most popular in Warren County to come in and pay above market prices because they're getting a 10% non-business credit to run their business in Ohio. That goes against what the original intention was for the credits. And so our proposals are about threefold, but we should eliminate the non-business credit also. And we should enhance the owner-occupied credit. For people that are living in their homes, that occupy that home, they should get an enhanced credit to make property taxes easier for them to pay. We need to restore that all levies are getting repaid by the state. This is a promise made to the people of Ohio by the legislature, and they need to keep their promise and reinstate all these credits for the taxpayers. This is something that we believe can be done in the budget, can be done very quickly, and would help every single Ohioan that pays property taxes on their home. So that's a proposal that we put forward and hope to see advanced. Thank you.
All right, so we're getting into the third point of our full plan. I'm just going to tell you folks right now, buckle up, because this is the most intricate, complex discussion whenever it has anything to do with school funding and the way in which we fund schools here in Ohio. So Jenny Logan, the amazing treasurer of the Sycamore Community School District, is going to come up and present. And then I'll have a few slides after her, and we'll move into point 4, and then we'll wrap it up for the day with y'all out here. Thank you, Jenny.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this event, which we also agreed from the school community is a hot topic. We all need to come together and figure this out. So as far as school funding goes, it is complicated, but back in 1906, the state of Ohio decided that it's a shared responsibility between the state and the local community to take care of our public schools. That local share is derived from our local tax base, and that's the taxes that we're talking about. The state share is currently derived from a funding formula that's the Fair School Funding Plan, and it takes a look at over 20 inputs, cost inputs. It takes all of those cost inputs together, and it comes up with a very unique base amount that it would take to educate the kids in every school district, 610 school districts. So you get your base cost. For Sycamore, it's about $8,100 a kid. So that's where we start. That's that base formula. Then there's categoricals for special education, our English language students, our gifted population, transportation, and that's put on top of that. Then the state takes a look at that and says, okay, now we have to figure out what's the local share and what's the state share. And so currently, the way that that is calculated is 60% is based on your property value in your community, and 40% is based on the income of your residents. So once they figure that out, then they determine that local capacity, the ability of your taxpayers to pay for the education of your students. And that ranges in our 610 school districts from over 90% all the way down to you cannot go below 10%. And guess what? That's where Sycamore is. And so we receive, remember I said about $8,100 a kid. So from the state of Ohio, we get 10%. So about $810 a kid.
And our property tax revenue is school district's main source of revenue. So when the residents look at their tax bill and they want to get angry, we are that main culprit. When they look at it, 60 to 65% of that tax bill goes to the schools. So we get phone calls as well. We do have an option. Schools do have an option to also go to their communities, and if it works with their community and their local residents, they can put on a school district income tax. And 34% of our schools around the state do have an income tax that supplements that residential tax. So for purposes of trying to show this, I love charts, and we put this together when this actually happened with our valuation increases. And so I said, well, what did it look like, 20 years ago? And so I pulled this data together that's available on our County Auditor's website. And this chart will show you over the 20-year period of time, what do those increases look like? I want to explain this a little bit. The increases, the percentages that are in the green boxes are during the revaluations that happen every 6 years. The yellow are the update years that are based on sales. And then the gray boxes are those in-between years where no updates are occurring. So you can see that this last revaluation, I think you used the term off the charts. Yes, it's unprecedented. It is not what we have seen in Sycamore as well. And you can see 22%. That is the total tax base. I will tell you that the residential was closer to 25%. But for school districts like Sycamore, remember I said, okay, residents, it was about a 25% average. That doesn't mean that Sycamore schools, and we're going to talk about why not Sycamore, that doesn't mean that our taxpayers saw a 25% increase on their tax bill. And that's because of something called House Bill 920, which was enacted back in 1976, when we were looking at double-digit inflationary times. And they said, hold on, we got to do something about this. So effectively, what House Bill 920 does is, as these valuation increases come in, the millage is rolled back so that effectively, it's way more complicated than this, that we do not collect additional revenue. Basically, we're not supposed to get inflationary growth in our revenue. And just to show you what that looks like, there's Sycamores. So when the increase took effect, you can see that from 2023 to 2024, the operating millage went down over 5 mils. So that's what's in place with House Bill 120 that's supposed to help with that inflationary increase to our taxpayers. Then you're also going to see bond levies on there. You're also going to see something at the very top that's inside mills. Inside mills are the mills that we do get inflation increases. So I do want to say that. Now let's make it more complicated. There's something called the 20 mil floor. So remember I said back in 1976, House Bill 920 came into effect that said you're not supposed to get inflationary increases. But then in the 1980s, they said, okay, every school district, you are going to be responsible for collecting at least 20 mils from your local community. So there's a floor. You cannot drop below 20 mils. So if you are at the 20 mil floor, and this is what has occurred, and you can see the numbers of the school districts here in this chart. Back in 2019, class 1 is your residential agricultural, class 2 is your business.
In 2019, residential, districts at the residential 2004 were 255 versus 2024, 466. Why? We're seeing these valuation increases. So just like I showed you on the chart, we keep falling back. We can't fall below 20. What happens at 20? Can't fall below it. So guess what happens? Your residents see that increase on their tax bill. They get the inflationary increase because they cannot drop below it. Unfortunately, it's complicated. As you know, and as we've said, Ohio Constitution says there has to be a uniform way that these fine folks administer and figure out all the complicated ways that we do the taxes. State funding, I believe the House is voting on their version of the budget right now. There's lots and lots of interesting things included there that impact all of this. So it's all connected. I mentioned House 120, the 2004. If we look at correcting one thing, we have to make sure, like I said, it's all connected. And so you don't want to fix one thing and then really have a detrimental effect on something else. As I mentioned, others have mentioned, it is definitely a priority. I was part of the school group that testified before the Joint Property Tax Study Committee. Over 20 bills have been proposed since January. We believe as a school community that there are taxpayers who need relief, and we want to be a partner in trying to find solutions. And so we applaud the County Auditors Association for doing this, and we stand ready to find solutions.
I'm going to Thank you. So I'm just going to wrap up really quickly about the 2004 because, like you said, school funding in Ohio is very, very complex. It's been deemed unconstitutional for a very long time, and we made 2 phases to try to fix that. With what was first the Patterson funding formula turned into the Fair School Funding Plan, and now phase 3 of that Fair School Funding Plan is in jeopardy. Because in the House version of the budget here in Ohio, they have stripped that out of the budget. So, the 2004 Ohio law guarantees school districts receive a minimum of $20 million of taxes at January. This essentially means after a school district reaches that floor, when our values go up, the tax rate cannot be adjusted downward, causing school taxes to increase 1-to-1 with value on those levies. The CAAO proposes eliminating this hard cap on rate reductions and instead limiting future growth on certain school levies to an inflationary index. This will still result in revenue growth in districts operating with the 2004, and this solution, in my humble opinion, hopefully all the key are not stepping too far out of line of the CAAO suggested proposals, but it's meant to complement the already included Fair School Funding Plan. State legislators must also implement that third and final phase, which of course is the phase that is in jeopardy right now. So, on to our last and final point, which is creating a menu of targeted relief. And at this time, we're going to bring up Levi King, who is from our United Way of Greater Cincinnati. And we're going to talk about all of the miscellaneous items in the 4th point of our proposal for the Auditors Association.
Good afternoon. Thank you to Auditors Nolan and Keith for participating in the conversation down here in Hamilton County, and to Auditor Miranda for hosting. I am pleased to be here on behalf of United Way of Greater Cincinnati. My name is Levi Barton. I handle public policy and advocacy on behalf of the organization. And United Way of Greater Cincinnati is a regional nonprofit serving 4 counties in northern Kentucky, 2 counties in Indiana, and then Hamilton, Claremont, and Brown counties here in Ohio. Our service area in Ohio does expand just slightly when we specifically discuss 2-1-1 efforts, as we cover other Clinton and Warren counties as well. United Way Greater Cincinnati focuses the work that we do on our 3 pillars, so educational success, financial empowerment, and housing security. Our organization works to address not just immediate needs, but also strives to find long-term solutions to the most pressing issues that our community faces. One of our many offerings that help with this is our 211 service, which I have previously mentioned. For those of you unfamiliar with 211, the service is the number that community members can call when they need housing and utility assistance, childcare, transportation, and many other vital services as well. The number fits in the same ecosystem as 988 and 911, 911 being used for emergencies and 988 for mental health crises. But by dialing 211, community members can speak to a 211 team member and can refer them to any number of resources with robust databases. No matter the situation, our 211 staff listen and identify underlying problems and connect people in the community with resources and services to improve their well-being. 211 really serves as our eyes and ears into the communities that we are in, and it's how we remain connected and better understand the needs of our neighbors. It's how we provide incredibly valuable services like our free tax prep program, and it's how we can advocate for policies that make positive change in our communities. So the menu of targeted relief that Auditor Jessica will offer in a moment highlights some of those positive change policies that our communities can benefit from. As the auditors, other elected officials, and advocates look to tax reform around housing, I'd like to share a sliver of insight that we have from 211 callers in our region. United Way Greater Cincinnati's 211 service received a limited number of calls specifically regarding property tax assistance. Typically, it's around 100 or so. However, last year, 2024, we saw a 270% increase. 270%. That is a staggering increase. We did not market 211 differently. We did not see an extremely increased call volume or change any of our formulas. That was just the need from our community. Further, in a recent study done by nonprofit To Revamp Home, they found that the Hamilton County poorest neighborhoods saw an average increase of $950 in their property tax bill, while the county's wealthiest neighborhoods saw an increase of $470.76. The communities in our region that are most in need are the communities that are being hit the hardest. This need in communities, though, is not limited to just property tax relief. As you'll see from the menu of targeted relief, there are other important adjustments that can be made to provide for help. For example, I was thrilled to see the need for expanding the Ohio Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, otherwise known as LIHTC, was included. Right now, the Ohio LIHTC program is struggling to keep up with demand, and in fact, requests for assistance through this valuable program exceed the number of credits available by 2.5 to 1. There is deep need in our region for more affordable housing. And last year, our 211 service saw over 14,000 calls come in for rental assistance or eviction prevention programs. And in our recent social capital survey administered in the fall of last year, nearly 60% of respondents shared the number one issue facing their family was the rising cost of living expenses, which include rent and mortgage payments, commuting costs, and other related factors. The need for these policy changes for the menu of targeted relief is there, and when we focus on putting our community members first, it's been proven time and time again that we reduce evictions and the rate of homelessness, we help build generational wealth, we encourage better health outcomes for families and children, and we foster thriving communities where workers can live close to their jobs. The work the county auditors are doing to address these issues is admirable, and I'm really thankful we have strong advocates in these positions working to address the needs of our communities. I'm passionate for the to share more about the menu of targeted relief. Thanks.
Thank you, David. So So, let me say this first. You know, this is a historic occasion, really. I mean, for the three of us to be here together, working on some solutions to help families and property owners to stay in their homes and to continue to be a contributing part of the community. We've never done anything like this before. And I'm so happy to be here with my neighbors. I grew up in Butler County, Montgomery County, and I grew up in Butler County, but it's really a thrill for me to be back down in Hamilton County. And I made my group that came with me today from Dayton, I made them get here early so we could go to the roses. But, you know, we've been doing these presentations around the state. We were in Youngstown last week. We were in Athens the week before. We've been in Hamilton, up in Butler County. We're in Springfield, Dayton. Matt was with me in Dayton. And we've got others planned. And each one of them take on a kind of different approach. So, Auditor Miranda, I want to thank you and your team for the approach you've taken here and for having these stakeholders here to address the issue. I'm really impressed with the United Way, but I'm really impressed that we have a school treasurer here and someone to explain to them before so we don't have to do it. Because as you can see, these things are complicated. They're complex, they're complicated, and so we're trying to find simple things, simple solutions that can be enacted right away. Our fourth recommendation, where we talk about tax deferrals and income tax credits, targeted abatements, we know that those types of things may not work on a statewide basis. That it may be something that's individualized by a community. That some communities might support an income tax credit or a deferral to help with low and moderate income housing. That may be more appropriate to some communities than others. We know that, and then as we put together our proposals, we wanted it to be something that would work for everyone, and would be inclusive for everyone. So we didn't have anything specific there, but we do want to see that as an opportunity for some creativity at the local level, and for the legislature, we hope will give us the freedom to enact things that work within our community that can address the issue of low and moderate housing, so moderate income housing. So that's what those the fourth proposal about. But certainly, as this says, as this is drawn on, the change to the homestead exemption, expansion of the homestead exemption, addressing the 2004 issue. Those are our top priorities. Those are our top priorities, and those are things that we think will make the biggest difference for the most people. Maybe you can make a comment about homestead exemption. How about the mic and do it?
Comment about anything you want.
Homestead exemption, you know, and the auditor made this comment. We prefer just to do away with the income restriction altogether. You know, when they did away with the income restriction back in 07, we signed up 30,000 property owners over a 3-month period in Montgomery County that were not eligible to participate in the program before, but became eligible for 30,000 property owners over a 3-month period in summer of 2007. My staff and I still refer to that as the summer of love in Montgomery County. That was so much easier to administer, for people to understand. There's no questions about what is income and what isn't income. It just makes sense to do that. Now, I think we realize that's not going to work, but we do want to see the income being raised, and the exemption amount rate hasn't until last budget cycle. It was the first time it had been touched in 17 years. And so, you know, things are thrown out of touch. Same thing with the 2.5% owner occupancy credit. Gosh, when was the last time that was touched? 1970? It's been 2.5% for that long. So, you know, these are things we think just make sense and are can be easily done and could make a difference for the most people and for people who need it the most. So, I'm so grateful to be able to participate, and I want to thank Miranda and her team for having us, and I think that will do for my closing remarks, and you have closing remarks. So thank you.
Before we close out today's event, I want to thank each of you for taking the time to join us for this important bipartisan conversation on property tax reform. You could have been anywhere else talking about, I'm sure, something more lively on a Wednesday afternoon, but your presence here clearly signals just how deeply our communities care about finding solutions, and quite frankly, finding solutions together that are impactful and meaningful. So as we said throughout this presentation, this crisis won't be solved overnight, but with persistent advocacy and unified voices from across Ohio, we can make progress. To support that effort, here in Hamilton County, we have taken a step further. To support this effort, everyone attending today will receive a call to action kit designed to help you make your voice heard. This kit includes social media graphics to help spread the word and engage your networks. It includes letter templates to send directly to your state reps, to your state senators, and even a letter to send to the governor of Ohio. A press release template to help share your perspective with local media and your respective communities. And of course, a copy of today's slide deck so you can revisit this and share what we have covered. So please don't let this be where the conversation ends. Use these tools, start those conversations, and help us, the County Auditors Association of Ohio, push for change. Together with unified action and our ongoing collaboration, we can make a real difference for Ohio's families. Let's keep up the fight for property tax fairness here in our state. And I want to thank again my colleagues in my association, Auditor Matt Nolan from Warren County and Auditor Karl, the legend from Montgomery County. So thank you all for coming today, and there is some takeaways here on the table. Of course, my business cards and Connor's business cards, my Director of Public Affairs, and we'll hang out afterward if you want to talk to a few of the three of us. And thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your presence.